In times of global economic uncertainty, when many are struggling with job loss, financial instability, and fear for the future, placing trust in God's provision offers a profound sense of hope and reassurance. God's blessings extend beyond material wealth, encompassing peace, security, and His unfailing care for every aspect of our lives. The Bible speaks often about God's provision and His ability to sustain us, even in difficult times. In Philippians 4 verse 19, Paul assures us, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus." This verse serves as a powerful reminder that God's resources are limitless, and His love for us is deep and unchanging. Even when our earthly resources are uncertain or limited, God's spiritual abundance remains constant. By placing our faith in Him, we can find comfort in the knowledge that He is attentive to our needs and will provide in His perfect way. Another powerful verse on God's provision is found in Matthew 6 verses 25 to 26, where Jesus teaches, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air, they do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" Here, Jesus emphasizes that God, who provides for even the smallest creatures, cares infinitely more for us. This assurance invites us to trust God's provision instead of allowing fear or worry to consume us. God values each of His children and will not abandon us, even in times of economic crisis. In the midst of financial challenges, God's provision is not limited to immediate needs but also includes peace and resilience. Isaiah 41 verse 10 offers comfort, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." This verse reassures us that God is present, offering strength and support through every trial. He doesn't merely address our financial needs but also strengthens our spirits, helping us face difficulties with courage and hope. Furthermore, God's provision encourages us to redefine our understanding of abundance and success. In 1 Timothy 6 verses 17 to 19, Paul instructs, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment." This passage reminds us that wealth is fleeting, but God's blessings are enduring and life-giving. True prosperity goes beyond money. It includes peace, hope, and the assurance of God's presence. By putting our hope in God rather than in material security, we find an enduring source of strength that can withstand economic fluctuations. God also calls us to generosity, even in times of personal financial difficulty, as a way to experience and spread His blessings. In Proverbs 11 verse 25, it says, "A generous person will prosper, whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." This principle reflects the idea that when we trust in God's abundance and choose to give, we open ourselves to receiving blessings beyond material wealth. Sharing with others, even when we have little, is an act of faith that God will replenish and sustain us. Lastly, Jeremiah 29 verse 11 offers an inspiring reminder of God's enduring plans for each of us, even when circumstances appear bleak. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse assures us that God has a purpose for each of our lives, and He is continually working for our good. Economic hardship can make it difficult to see a clear future, but God's plans are certain and filled with hope. By trusting in His promise, we can face each day with the confidence that He has a future prepared for us. Trusting in God's faithfulness amid financial uncertainty. In seasons of financial instability and job loss, it's natural to feel anxious and fearful about what the future holds. Yet, God's promises invite us to place our confidence in His unfailing provision and faithfulness. When we recognize that God is the ultimate provider, our perspective shifts from worry to trust, allowing us to lean on His strength and guidance. Trusting God in these difficult times transforms our view of abundance and teaches us to rely on spiritual riches over material security. One foundational promise in Scripture is found in Psalm 23 verse 1, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This image of God as a shepherd underscores His constant care and protection. A shepherd is attentive to every need of his sheep, guiding them to safe pastures and protecting them from harm. Likewise, God is deeply aware of our needs and actively works to provide for us, even when circumstances seem uncertain. By viewing God as our shepherd, we are reminded that we are under His care, and therefore we have no reason to fear or feel abandoned in times of scarcity. During periods of financial hardship, God calls us to deepen our faith by focusing on His promises. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 teaches, Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. In times of financial uncertainty, it can be tempting to rely solely on our own strategies or worry about solutions. This verse, however, encourages us to surrender our fears and trust in God's wisdom and timing. By acknowledging our limitations and submitting to God's guidance, we open ourselves to his perfect plan, even if we cannot yet see the outcome. This trust in God's wisdom is an act of faith, inviting us to place our future in his hands and allowing him to lead us through unknown territory. Moreover, financial challenges provide an opportunity to strengthen our reliance on God rather than on earthly resources. In Matthew 6 verse 33, Jesus tells us, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." When we prioritize our relationship with God and align our lives with his values, we can trust that he will meet our needs in his own way. This principle invites us to focus not on accumulating wealth but on cultivating a heart that seeks God above all else. As we pursue his kingdom, we begin to experience a deeper sense of security that doesn't depend on our financial situation but rests in God's faithful provision. Financial hardship also challenges us to reflect on what truly matters and find joy in God's presence rather than in material comfort. Habakkuk 3 verses 17 to 18 offers a powerful perspective. Though the fig tree does not bud and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will be joyful in God my Savior. This passage demonstrates a profound trust in God's goodness even in times of lack. When we face financial difficulties, we are invited to adopt a similar attitude of gratitude, recognizing that God's love and presence are our true wealth. This joy in God becomes a source of strength, enabling us to endure hardships with hope and resilience. Another essential aspect of trusting God during economic challenges is practicing contentment. Philippians 4 verses 11 to 13 illustrates Paul's perspective on contentment. "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I can do all this through him who gives me strength." Paul's words remind us that true contentment is found not in our possessions but in our relationship with God. When we rely on God's strength, we develop an inner peace that allows us to adapt to changing circumstances without losing our sense of security. This contentment frees us from the need to constantly seek more and empowers us to find fulfillment in what God has already provided. In times of financial strain, God also calls us to draw closer to community. Galatians 6 verse 2 encourages, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." Economic difficulties often isolate people, leading to feelings of shame or helplessness. However, God designed us to support one another. By reaching out to fellow believers and leaning on each other, we experience the comfort and encouragement of Christian fellowship. God often provides through others, using acts of kindness, prayer, and practical support to remind us that we are not alone. Additionally, times of financial hardship can deepen our compassion for others facing similar struggles. In 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4, Paul writes, "God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." When we receive God's comfort in our struggles, we are equipped to offer that same encouragement to others. Financial challenges help us to empathize with those who are in need and inspire us to share God's love and provision with them. This shared experience strengthens the body of Christ and enables us to be instruments of God's peace and hope. Learning dependence on God's timing and guidance during economic struggles. In times of financial crisis, trusting in God teaches us patience and helps us grow in understanding that His timing is perfect, even when we face delays or uncertainty. Economic hardship reminds us to surrender our expectations and align our hopes with God's plans rather than our own timelines. In Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, we are reminded, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Financial struggles can seem prolonged, but God uses these seasons to deepen our patience, strengthen our faith, and help us rely on His wisdom rather than our own understanding. Additionally, financial hardship teaches us to discern God's voice and guidance more clearly. In times of abundance, we may rely on our own abilities, but challenges reveal our need to listen carefully for God's direction. Proverbs 3 verse 6 encourages, "In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." By seeking God's guidance during difficult times, we become more sensitive to His leading, whether it's through prayer, scripture, or wise counsel from others. This attentiveness strengthens our relationship with God, helping us develop spiritual maturity and a clearer sense of purpose. Financial challenges also reveal how deeply God desires for us to find our identity and value in Him rather than in our possessions or job titles. In Luke 12 verse 15, Jesus warns, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Economic hardship reminds us that our true worth comes from being children of God, not from material success. This shift in perspective helps us see ourselves as God sees us, which brings a deeper sense of fulfillment and security that isn't tied to our financial status. Knowing that we are valued by God gives us confidence to face any situation, as our identity is rooted in His love. Another powerful lesson we learn in financial hardship is resilience and the ability to adapt. In Romans 5 verses 3-4, Paul explains, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope." Economic challenges, though difficult, build resilience and character. As we adapt to changing circumstances, we gain a renewed hope that sustains us beyond immediate material concerns. This resilience becomes a lasting strength that we can carry into future challenges, reminding us that God is shaping us through each trial. Moreover, financial struggle invites us to grow in faith and courage, learning to take bold steps even when the future is uncertain. In Joshua 1 verse 9, God commands, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This encouragement helps us face financial challenges without fear, trusting that God will walk with us through every valley. We learn that faith isn't just about waiting for provision but also about courageously stepping forward, knowing that God will guide us along the way. Additionally, these times deepen our appreciation for God's daily provisions. Often, we overlook the small blessings God provides because we focus on larger, long-term goals. However, financial struggles teach us to notice and appreciate each day's provision. In Lamentations 3 verses 22-23, we read, "Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning, great is your faithfulness." This daily faithfulness of God reminds us to be grateful for the present moment, recognizing that each day's blessings, no matter how small, are part of His loving care. Financial hardship also strengthens our sense of community and reminds us of the importance of giving and receiving support. In Acts 2 verses 44-45, the early believers sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Economic difficulty often brings people together, fostering a spirit of generosity and support. In times of struggle, we learn to value our communities more deeply and find joy in the connections we build. By sharing our burdens and blessings, we experience God's provision through others and witness how He works within the body of believers to care for each person's needs. Finally, financial hardship becomes a testimony of God's provision to others. When we face economic challenges and still experience God's faithfulness, we can encourage others who may be going through similar struggles. In 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8, Paul writes, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." By sharing our stories of how God has provided for us, we become sources of hope for others, showing them that God's faithfulness is real and present even in the hardest times. Our experiences become living testimonies, reflecting God's glory and inspiring others to trust in His provision. In summary, economic hardship teaches us invaluable spiritual lessons: patience, resilience, courage, gratitude, and dependence on God. By trusting in His guidance and embracing His timing, we discover a deeper purpose beyond material stability, rooted in our relationship with Him. These trials refine our character, deepen our faith, and remind us that God is present in every season, drawing us closer to Him and preparing us to be vessels of hope for those around us. Through these experiences, we come to understand that true abundance lies not in material wealth but in the enduring presence and love of God. Embracing God's lessons in humility and resourcefulness during economic hardship. Economic hardship teaches us valuable lessons in humility and resourcefulness, which deepen our reliance on God and broaden our perspective on what it means to live faithfully. When we face financial difficulties, we are often reminded of our human limitations and invited to lean fully on God's strength and wisdom, rather than our own. One of the most significant teachings we encounter during financial struggles is humility. In Deuteronomy 8 verse 3, God reminds the Israelites of their dependence on Him during their time in the wilderness. "He humbled you, causing you to hunger and then feeding you with manna, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord." Financial hardship has a humbling effect, reminding us that our true sustenance is not found solely in material provisions but in our dependence on God's guidance and His promises. This humility brings us closer to God, reminding us that we are not self-sufficient, but we are sustained by His love and grace. Moreover, economic challenges encourage us to cultivate resourcefulness, utilizing what we have in creative ways. Proverbs 21 verse 20 teaches, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." When resources are scarce, we become more mindful of how we use what God has provided. Resourcefulness involves making the most of what we have, minimizing waste, and finding joy in simplicity. Through this, we learn to be good stewards of the blessings God has entrusted to us. This spirit of resourcefulness can lead to a more sustainable, grateful lifestyle, one that remains focused on the essentials rather than excess. Economic challenges also teach us about the importance of wisdom in financial decisions. James 1 verse 5 encourages, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Financial hardship is a time to seek God's wisdom actively, inviting Him to guide us in wise spending, saving, and prioritizing our needs. This prayerful approach to decision-making can lead to better financial management and a greater sense of peace, knowing that we are relying on God's guidance rather than our own understanding. In addition, financial struggles can deepen our gratitude for work and purpose. Colossians 3 verse 23 advises, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." When faced with job loss or economic instability, we often reassess our attitudes toward work and the purpose it holds in our lives. God invites us to find purpose in every task, even those that may seem small or unremarkable. Through this perspective, we realize that all work done for God is meaningful, regardless of the pay or position. Financial challenges remind us that our worth is not tied to our job title or income but to our commitment to serving God faithfully in all we do. Financial hardship can also lead us to explore new avenues for income or skill development, inspired by God's guidance and the creativity He has placed within us. Proverbs 22 verse 29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings, they will not serve before officials of low rank." Economic difficulties can sometimes be a doorway to new opportunities and talents we hadn't considered. By praying for God's guidance, we may be led to develop skills, pursue side projects, or learn something new that could ultimately bless us financially and spiritually. In this way, financial hardship can become a journey of self-discovery and growth, reminding us that God equips us for every season. Economic struggles often foster compassion, helping us to understand the experiences of those who face financial hardships regularly. In Hebrews 13 verse 16, we are reminded, "And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased." Experiencing financial strain firsthand makes us more empathetic toward others who face similar challenges. This empathy can inspire us to support and encourage others, whether through prayer, acts of service, or small contributions. Our struggles remind us that we are part of a larger community, called to bear one another's burdens and reflect God's love through generosity and kindness. Additionally, God often uses financial hardship as a time to prune distractions, drawing our focus back to what truly matters. John 15 verse 2 explains, "He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful." During times of financial strain, we are often led to let go of material pursuits that may have distracted us from our relationship with God. This pruning process allows us to refocus on God's priorities for our lives, helping us to grow in ways that are spiritually fruitful and in alignment with His will. Finally, financial hardship can strengthen our trust in God's ability to redeem any situation. In Romans 8 verse 28, we are promised, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Even in moments of financial crisis, God is working behind the scenes, using every situation for our ultimate good. This assurance provides a foundation of hope, reminding us that no circumstance is beyond God's redeeming power. By holding on to this promise, we can face financial difficulties with the confidence that God is actively bringing about growth, resilience, and new beginnings. Discovering spiritual riches in financial hardship. Financial hardship invites us to reevaluate our understanding of true wealth, shifting our focus from material possessions to spiritual blessings. Jesus speaks to this in Matthew 6 verses 19 to 21, where He teaches, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." This passage reminds us that true riches are eternal, found not in material goods but in a life filled with God's love, peace, and grace. Financial difficulties help us realign our priorities, cultivating a heart that treasures spiritual growth, relationships, and a closer walk with God over the fleeting security of earthly wealth. Strengthening our faith through uncertainty. Financial struggles push us into unknown territory, where control and predictability seem elusive. However, this uncertainty can become a powerful tool for spiritual growth, teaching us to trust God even when we cannot foresee the outcome. In Hebrews 11 verse 1, faith is defined as confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Economic hardship brings us face to face with the unknown, yet this is precisely where faith flourishes. By placing our hope in God's faithfulness rather than our circumstances, we learn that true peace and confidence come from Him, not from our material situation. Cultivating contentment amidst simplicity. Financial difficulty often necessitates a simpler lifestyle, but within this simplicity lies an opportunity for profound contentment. Philippians 4 verses 12 to 13 shares Paul's experience with both abundance and need. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. Through simplicity, we learn that contentment is not a product of our resources but a state of gratitude for what God has provided. This shift teaches us to appreciate life's blessings, no matter how modest, and fosters a lifestyle that values quality over quantity, relationships over possessions, and gratitude over desire. Deepening our prayer life and communion with God. Financial hardship often brings us to our knees, prompting a deeper, more intentional prayer life. Psalm 34 verse 17 reminds us, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them, He delivers them from all their troubles." When we experience financial stress, we are often drawn into more frequent and heartfelt conversations with God. These prayers for provision, peace, and guidance not only open our hearts to God's comfort but also allow us to witness His presence in our lives in new ways. Hardship, then, becomes a means to build a closer relationship with God, inviting Him into the very core of our struggles and allowing Him to work in ways that may surprise us. Learning to surrender and release control. Financial challenges often reveal our natural tendency to seek control over our lives. Yet, these moments also teach us the importance of surrendering our plans to God. Proverbs 16 verse 3 reminds us, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." By surrendering our fears and uncertainties, we invite God to take charge of our lives, trusting that He knows what is best for us. Letting go of control allows us to experience God's guidance in deeper, more transformative ways, recognizing that His plans for us are often greater than what we could envision for ourselves. Fostering a spirit of generosity in times of scarcity. Paradoxically, financial hardship can be a time when we learn the value of generosity. Luke 6 verse 38 teaches, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap." Sharing what little we have, whether it be time, encouragement, or resources, develops a heart that trusts in God's abundance, even in scarcity. Generosity in hard times reminds us that God's blessings are not solely for personal gain but to uplift and support others. By giving despite our limited resources, we tap into a divine economy of trust and mutual care, where God blesses those who extend blessings to others. Reinforcing the power of community and support. Financial hardship often brings people together, as communities gather to provide support, resources, and encouragement to one another. Acts 2 verses 42 to 47 provides an example of early believers sharing everything they had, selling property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. This spirit of unity and collective support reminds us that we are not meant to go through life's challenges alone. By reaching out and leaning on our community, we experience God's provision through others, building stronger relationships and finding comfort in knowing we are part of a caring and supportive body of believers. Rediscovering our God-given purpose. Economic hardship provides an opportunity to reflect on our purpose and priorities. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." During financial difficulties, God may lead us to reconsider our direction, perhaps opening doors to new paths that align more closely with His plan for our lives. These moments of redirection allow us to explore new talents, interests, and callings, uncovering a purpose that brings us greater fulfillment and joy than we may have previously imagined. God uses hardship to shape us for His unique calling, showing us that His plans for us are filled with hope and purpose. Building a legacy of faith and resilience for future generations. Finally, enduring financial hardship while trusting in God creates a powerful legacy of faith that can inspire future generations. In Psalm 78 verse 4, the psalmist speaks of passing down God's wonders to the next generation. "We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, His power, and the wonders He has done." When we live out our faith during times of difficulty, we model resilience, trust, and hope in God for those around us. Our children, friends, and community witnesses this faith and are encouraged by it, knowing that God is faithful in all circumstances. This legacy of faith serves as a testament to God's provision and love, inspiring others to trust Him in their own lives. Embracing God's transformative work in economic hardship. Financial hardship is undeniably challenging, but through it, God works deeply in our lives to bring about spiritual growth, humility, and renewed purpose. These experiences teach us that true wealth lies not in material possessions but in our relationship with God and the inner peace that only He can provide. Each struggle becomes an opportunity to trust more fully in God's provision, to cultivate contentment, and to grow in generosity and compassion. As we lean into God's guidance and allow Him to shape our lives through hardship, we emerge with a faith that is resilient, a perspective that is grounded in eternal values, and a heart that is attuned to His love. This journey of transformation through economic struggle ultimately brings us closer to God, deepening our understanding of His faithfulness and allowing us to serve as lights of hope and trust in a world that often lacks both. Finally, God's faithfulness during financial hardship teaches us the importance of gratitude and stewardship. In Luke 16 verse 10, Jesus says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." Even when resources are scarce, practicing gratitude and wise stewardship prepares us for greater blessings. By being faithful with what God provides, however small it may seem, we demonstrate trust and gratitude, laying the foundation for future abundance. This attitude of stewardship transforms our perspective, helping us see every blessing as an opportunity to honor God. In conclusion, viewing God as our source of hope and provision during economic challenges is both empowering and transformative. Through Scripture, we learn that God's care goes beyond our immediate financial needs, offering us peace, contentment, and a renewed sense of purpose. Trusting in God's provision allows us to rise above fear and focus on cultivating gratitude, compassion, and faith. As we rely on Him, we discover that He provides not only for our material needs but also for our spiritual growth, drawing us closer to Him and to one another. In God, we find a wellspring of hope that sustains us through every season of life.